Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to the 33rd meeting of the Social Justice and Social Security Committee of 2025. Apologies this morning from Colette Stevenson. And we move to agenda item 1, which is a declaration of interest. I welcome Claire Baker as a new member of the committee. Good to have you here, Claire, and can I invite Claire to declare any interest relevant to the work of the Social Justice and Social Security Committee.
Thank you, Convener. I'm pleased to be joining the committee. I don't have anything relevant to declare.
Yeah, thank you. I should also note we've been joined by David Torrance, a substitute member for Colette Stevenson. But David, you've previously declared interest, but you're more than welcome here this morning as well. Agenda item 2. Our next item of business is to decide whether to take items 4, 6 and 7 in private today. I'm just checking. Okay, I'm just making sure I haven't missed out number 5, but that's previously been agreed to be taken in private. But so for clarity, we're seeking agreement 4, 6 and 7, but 5 will also be in private. Are we agreed? Thank you. Agenda item 3. Our next item of business is our evidence session on the Social Security Independent Advocacy Service, which is due to be delivered by Advice Direct Scotland from January 2026. And I welcome to the meeting Andrew Bartlett, Chief Executive Officer, Advice Direct Scotland, who is joining us online. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. I'd also like to put on record before we go to questions this morning that I think various members of the committee wanted to say they welcomed your proactive approach to engaging with members ahead of today's meeting. Some of us had opportunity to meet with you, but it's also important to have a public session, of course, to put on the record some of the matters that we think are relevant in relation to our scrutiny work. So you're very welcome, Andrew, and we'll move to our first question from Carol Mochan.
Thank you, Convener, and welcome to the committee. Advice Direct Scotland currently operates across a range of subject areas, so I'm interested to know just what experience does Advice Direct Scotland have in providing advocacy services, and if you have to adapt your ways of working to deliver it, how you might do that.
Yeah, so we already provide a nationwide service. We are efficient. We are customer-centred. So we'll absolutely be putting the advocacy partners at the centre of our advocacy work. We have agile systems and we have relationships with more than 1,500 organisations, the length and breadth of Scotland. We will be welcoming the current advocates who are working for voiceability under 2P regulations. We will be working with the Scottish Independent Advocacy Alliance and we'll be taking up a membership with them. We will be building a referral pathway for advice to make sure we don't cross the line between advocacy and advice, but we're not going to make people tell their stories several times. We will absolutely be seeking out lived experience input. We've already started that with some sessions, both in our office in Glasgow and online. We will be engaging with Social Security Scotland, and I'm just waiting for an appointment date with David Wallace. So we can discuss how we can improve the referrals from Social Security Scotland before we start. We will be engaging with third sector and local authorities, particularly those departments with disability experience. We'll be working with the health boards, looking at their advocacy plans and making sure there's no duplication, that people know where we fit. And we'll be taking feedback from advocacy partners as immediately we start delivering the service, because obviously that's the key feedback.
That was helpful. I just wonder, the contract value is lower through 3.2 million, and I just wondered, have you got a plan in place to ensure that lower value doesn't mean the service will go down? Will you be able to continue to support the same number of people at that high quality?
Yes, well, so we're committed to delivering 60,000 hours worth of advocacy. That includes travel and administration, but so that we certainly will deliver that as a minimum. There is a mechanism that we can explore if we needed a lot more than that. At the minute, 60,000 hours would be more than the current delivery. We don't carry large central costs So we are a lean organisation. Our systems will cut some of the administration time down for our advocates. So this is not using technology to replace people. This is using technology to deliver value, so people can spend more of their time speaking with the people they're looking to support. And we've been through a robust procurement process. So I'm very confident that we've demonstrated that we can deliver it within that money.
Thank you.
Carol, Marie McNair.
And good morning, Andrew. Having engaged with you before, I know your service has considerable experience in providing advice, but what do you see as the defining difference between advocacy and advice giving? It
is different. Our head of our internal learning and development is a trained advocate, so we have experience within the organisation. What we want to do is make sure that our advocates deliver advocacy, but that if advice is required and requested, because we need to be clear that those services will be available either within our organisation or with the organisations we already have a relationship with. But we will very much be welcoming the Voiceability advocates, so where that experience will be coming with them. The casework they're already doing will be coming with them. So I'm very confident that we'll be able to demonstrate to you that we're offering a quality service across the country.
Thanks. With that, obviously, you're already providing advice services. What systems do you have in place to avoid conflicts of interest between advocacy services and the current services you provide?
Yeah, so the advocacy services will be on its own platform, if that makes sense. So we're not just bundling it into something that we've already got. So we're building a bespoke advocacy platform that will allow very transparent sharing of data. So we'll be able to share with Scottish Government real-time information, so they'll be able to see how many hours we've done, how many visits we've done, etc., etc. We will also have, we're introducing a separate free phone number for advocacy, so that will not come to our advice givers. But if advice is needed, so if, for example, somebody asks for support with debt, then obviously that will be passed through, but that will not be dealt with by the advocate. That will be dealt with by our debt team.
Thank you. And obviously, you are a digital organisation. How are you going to deliver advocacy face-to-face within local communities? And obviously, with your earlier mention of TUPEing over the Voiceability staff, and I know they're obviously within, my own constituency. Would that continue?
Yes. So we're not looking to make anybody redundant. So we're expecting everyone who comes over to carry on with the work that they're doing, supporting the advocacy partners they're currently supporting. We also want to make sure that we are in the community. So we've have a memorandum of understanding with the Scottish Libraries. So that's 431 locations across Scotland where we will meet people if that's somewhere they're comfortable meeting. We will obviously continue to meet people in their homes if that is their preference. We will meet people at third-party premises. And I think what's very important is we're going to work with other advocacy organisations. I have no appetite for duplicating services. I've no appetite for creating conflict where with advocates who've maybe been working with people for many months, many years in some instances. We want to work with them, not against them. So our role is very clear. It's to deliver advocacy for Social Security Scotland services.
I certainly welcome that assurance that none of us can work in silos. So I look forward to working with you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Claire Baker.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning. I'm pleased that you've confirmed that TUPE has been used in terms of the previous staff. Now, I think the previous organisation employed 48, is that right? 48 advocates. They did have 58 staff. is the intention that the 48 workers come over to yourselves?
Yes, so everybody so basically we've been sent the ELI information. I'm not an HR specialist. I have HR specialists as part of the team. So we have all the paperwork we require from Voiceability. We're doing a consultation. They're a non-unionised organisation. So we have a meeting next week and a meeting the following week with representatives who are representing. 2P is always a bit of a scary time, you know, and there are differences between our organisations. So we are a 4-day-week organisation, for example, and have been for many years. But we have to make sure that people's rights are respected. So they will come over on their same terms and conditions on the 31st of January, and then those rights are protected as it goes forward. Some people will want to change to our terms and conditions if opportunity comes up, which people are always welcome to do. And we have done 2P in the past, both in and out. So yeah, we do have experience.
To keep the staffing complement that was there before, because Carol Malkin asked about the contract being lower, and I mean, usually the costs in contract are usually around people and employment is what the heaviest cost is. So you had, I think, suggested it would be through using technology at other ends of the business that would explain why you can do it on a reduced budget. So it's not to do with staff reduction.
We're actually recruiting. So we've obviously, so for example, at the minute, there is only one person for all of Highlands and Islands. But that's simply not practical. I used to live in Newton Moor, so I'm very familiar with the travel times in that part of the world. So we are looking to make sure we've got people where there is demand. So we have nobody in Orkney, we have nobody servicing the Western Isles at the moment. So we will be doing a lot of work making sure we've got people where we need to provide a service. We want to make sure we've got proper coverage in each health board, proper coverage in each local authority. And at the minute it's 48% face-to-face and 52% remote. So again, we need to look at that and see, is that because that is a service that people wanted, or in some instances is that the service that people have to have because there is nobody in their geography. So we'll be looking at that very closely, and we have funds available to fill those gaps.
Okay, that's welcome. So the contract starts on the 31st of January. So there's quite a lot to do before the 31st of January if you're doing 2P and mapping and everything else.
There is an awful lot to do. But we have started the technology build, so that's underway. We're having very regular conversations with the Scottish Government team. So we have a joint mobilisation board, and work streams of data, 2P operations and training. That's all on target. We have made sure that our internal resources are fully aligned to this. So we will be on time. In Q1, will it be dramatically different? No. By Q2, I'm really hopeful we'll have gaps plugged that people will know about the service. And my understanding is one of the issues at the minute is people knowing that it's there. So we will certainly be doing an awful lot of work. That includes with people like yourselves, with elected officials. We'll be reaching out to every local authority, every health board, and we've already reached out to our 1,500 partners that we already work with, who are absolutely from the top of Shetland down to the bottom of the borders. And it's about letting people know a service is available. That is the key thing, and that's what we'll be driving. Message will drive. We'll be doing more breakfasts and sessions in our office, and we'll be doing more online sessions for people where Glasgow isn't convenient.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Convener.
Okay, thank you. Alexander Stewart.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning, Andrew. Social Security Scotland is operating at a far larger scale now than when Voiceability started back in January 2022. So demand will be one of the major issues that you have to contend with. And how or what areas of opportunity do you see the demand and how are you anticipating that demand and managing to see how you are going to stream it or support it when it comes on, because there will be a large demand for it?
Yes, I think at the moment the challenge is that we don't entirely know what the demand is because the service is not known everywhere. Yeah, so we've committed to 60,000 hours of advocacy in year 1 and year 2. If, for argument's sake, it was 120,000 hours that was required, I will need to go back. There is a mechanism in the contract if extra funds were required. But first of all, let's see what the demand is. Let's make sure that people who need the service know that it's there, and bluntly, I will have to deal with it, you know, if it arises.
There may well be that anticipation that at the beginning there may be a big demand initially because you're there and people may want to ask for support or acquire some support from you, and that will have an impact on what you can and can't do and how you can manage that. And there may be some geographical differences as well, as you've indicated, as to what rural and urban communities may and individuals within them may require from you. So you'll have your plan already is there, and you have the capacity to adapt it depending on the demand levels that come through. Absolutely, and it's about being practical. So we just looking at where the current advocates live, I can see big gaps, particularly up the west coast of Scotland. So not Ayrshire, but I can see gaps in the borders. I can see big gaps in some of the islands. So we will work to resolve those gaps, to make sure that there is a level of equitability in access to the service. And Scotland's geography is challenging in many ways, and it won't just be this programme where it is an issue, but we will commit to using technology to an extent, and let's see where the nearest advocate actually is to the person who needs support. Let's not make assumptions. Let's make it clear that if we've got somebody, for example, in Thurso, let's make sure we reach out to any other advocacy groups who operate in the Thurso area, that we will be there on Thursday. If you've got someone else who you think would require the service. So a lot of it is going to be involved in making sure we've got our partners on board, understanding that we're the advocates for a very specific part of people's needs. And if an advocacy organisation is already involved, it is not our job to replace them. It is our job to deliver the Social Security Scotland element of it, and they can continue with the good work that they do. So some of it is we need to fit around other organisations. So, for example, in Argyll and Bute, where there is a gap, we've already spoken to the local advocacy organisation there, and we will work closely together rather than duplicating work. And getting referrals for the sector and supporting individuals. So how will you work with Social Security Scotland and other partners to get the referrals and provide the service that's required? Yes, so Social Security Scotland obviously have their own teams who will go into homes and help people fill in paperwork, etc. And that's not exclusive to people with disabilities. And the purpose of me meeting with David is to make sure that their frontline people
understand that there is an independent service available that sits outside of Social Security Scotland, because I think that's important. I think we need to understand when it would be better for Social Security Scotland staff to deal with an inquiry rather than us. But it's letting people know that we are here. It's making referrals easy. So we've a lot of experience with the Fuel Insecurity Fund, for example. We work with partners the length and breadth of Scotland, and it was making engagement with us easy, because everybody in the third sector, in the public sector, are busy. If you make it too hard to engage, people won't engage. They'll either look for an alternative route, or they'll just ignore it. So we will very much be making it easy to engage, both for people who want to self-refer. We're going to make that easy. We are getting some in-house help from the team at Forth Valley Sensory Services, who are going to give us some observations about how the service could be improved for people with sight issues, hearing issues. So we want to make it easy for us to engage with, because that is key. And some people will want a remote engagement anyway. So there's been a big change since COVID. We see that on our dashboards, where people who once would have opted for a face-to-face service now opt for an online one. We're not here to judge whether someone should be online or face-to-face. If they want face-to-face, we'll aim to deliver face-to-face.
Thank you, Convener.
Andrew, I wonder if I could just ask a supplementary question on that referral process. So, an advocacy workers in someone's house doing the contracted work in relation to adult disability payments or what have you, and they discover there's a universal credit issue, or there's another issue there. What happens?
Right, two things. If the person has another advocate who's working with them, then that advocate may run with it. If it's something that my welfare team can resolve, if the individual is happy, that can be referred to my very, very experienced welfare team. We've been given welfare advice since 2004. So no, we're not leaving anyone. I know signposting doesn't work because people don't follow the signpost. You need to hand people safely to another organisation. It might be that the individual already has a relationship with something like a Citizens Advice Bureau, another community-based organisation. We're not looking to supplement, to replace any of those services. So it will be on a case-by-case basis, Convener.
Okay. It certainly would be welcome if there was like a kind of wrap-around welfare advice and support package where there was a loss of identity in relation to it was one stream for universal credit, another stream for another suite of income-based benefits, another stream for adult disability payment. It would be nice if that lost its identity and the support was simply provided, but that's maybe something the committee might return to at a later date to see how that works in practice. That's quite reassuring, though. Thank you. Elena Whittam.
Thanks, Convener, and good morning, Andrew. One of the things that the committee's been quite concerned with over the last few years is the low awareness that previously existed with the advocacy service. Now, we know that when people were supported, the advocates did a sterling job, so it's brilliant to hear that they are going to be tupied over into your organisation, so you retain those skills and those people. But on the 27th of November, the committee did hear from Adele Harris, who authored the independent review into adult disability payment, that she also found that there was a low awareness. So I've heard everything that you've said so far, which gives me a lot of comfort in the way that you're going to try and carve out the identity of the new service. Is there anything else you can add to that? Because we want to make sure that everybody that needs to be aware is aware of the service. Yes,
so we will be using advocacy.scot as the brand, because obviously there's a level of confusion with our name, and the Advice Direct Scotland has the word advice in it. So we're going to be using advocacy.scot. That's where that's the URL that will be used for this particular programme. We've agreed a common strategy with the Scottish Government that's reviewed on a weekly basis. It is about, so we've written to all the 1,500 partners. We will write again in January because, you know, this is a very busy time with Christmas coming up. You know, I do realise that an email from us may not get to the top of somebody's in tray if it's not until the 31st of January. So we will reach out again in the new year. We will carry on with the CEO focus groups. We are building a lived experience steering group, so we want to hear from people who've used either this service or another service to tell us what good looks like. As I've already said, you know, we're going to absolutely reach out to Social Security Scotland at all levels, not just David. Working with elected officials, and that's from councillors, obviously everybody in Holyrood, all the Scottish MPs and all the caseworkers. So we will run a caseworker forum in January specifically on this subject. So people, you know, who reach out to people like yourself, Elena, will know, will be directed to us. And I think it's really important that we do link ourselves to the health board's advocacy plans. Let's make sure that every health board knows that we're there. Let's make sure every local authority in Scotland knows that we're there, and that we're very precise about the service that will be offered. And I think that will greatly improve the visibility, and we will have press about this. I mean, this is an important thing. So we will reach out to the press. We have a very good relationship with the press across Scotland. We will be in local and national publications, and obviously most people read these things online now anyway. So we will be pushing the message out on a consistent basis.
Okay, that's very helpful to know. I've got another question round about the fact that as you know, Social Security Scotland has bedded in, and we have had the safe transfer of everybody from PIP into adult disability payment, we're entering into a new phase where there's going to be a lot of reviews starting to happen. There's going to be redeterminations starting to happen at pace as well, and that's going to be perhaps an entirely new focus for the advocates who perhaps have not had the level of that type of work yet across their desks. So is there anything that you're going to do to ensure that they're upskilled so that everybody who's referring has confidence that this is the group of people who are going to be best placed to support individuals in that?
Yes. So we'll obviously provide evidence from what we see. So we will inform the committee going forward as to what we're seeing on the ground, which I think will be invaluable. But our people, training doesn't stop at the end of your first training session. Training and coaching is continuous, and we will need to learn from things that have worked well. So we inform our advocacy team about good practice. We need to understand maybe why things have gone less well for people. So it's not being afraid to admit that sometimes we'll make a mistake, or sometimes we'll take a route that wasn't the quickest route to getting a good outcome for somebody. It's absorbing that, it's making sure the individual isn't disadvantaged going forward, but it's also making sure that the whole team understand what they need to do, when they need to do it, what tools they need. So that's our plan going forward, is to upskill the advocates. And if maybe we need a different role, I don't know yet, because we haven't, do we need someone who will appear, who just appears at tribunals? I don't know. So we're not going to put that in place on day one.
Okay, that's very helpful, though, and to understand that you're going to monitor and evaluate that going forward as to how the service might have to evolve. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. Almost an appropriate segue now, given you mentioned monitoring and evaluation. I'll pass over to Jeremy Balfour.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning, and thank you for coming. Voiceability shared several of its quarterly monitoring reports with the committee. But certainly from my view, and I think probably others within the committee, it didn't really go far enough. It was difficult to actually work out who we were seeing and what effect it was having. And I think we all agree we need transparency and accountability. Yeah. So how will your quarterly reports, either to Scottish Government or to the committee, show us the client's journey, how far you went with the client, how many people, etc., so that from the start of the process we can monitor to see if we're getting value for money?
Yes, well, what we will provide is something that's very visual, so you can see it. You don't have to, kind of get a pad and paper out and and try and do the maths yourselves. We will report on things like advocacy hours, so you'll be able to see how much time we've spent working with individuals across Scotland. We will be very open about referrals and where they've come from. We'll let you know timescales. So if I could just use our debt programme as an example, Jeremy, we put things in what we call pots. Yeah. So the initial piece is pot 1. That's where I get your name and address and just an overview of your situation. Then we move all the way through to pot 5. We will build something similar within this programme, so we can let you know where people are in the journey at any point in time. So have we just had a single session? Has paperwork been completed? Is there a redetermination that needs to take place? Is there a tribunal that's going to need to be done? So we'll be able to let you know where people have sat on the journeys. And it's important for us because then we can see in real time where people are. So somebody sat and nothing's happened after the initial meeting for 3 weeks. Well, either that person is disengaged or we've not provided the service that was expected. So no, I think you will enjoy our reports and you will, our aim is not to make it difficult for you to find out what we're doing. Our aim is to make it very clear what we're doing and what our advocates are doing.
Thank you. I mean, I think that's very helpful. Hopefully I'll be here to monitor your first report, but that's another issue. In regard to, I think one of my frustrations was, and I've shared with previous of the committee, I happened to be in hospital 2 years ago. I was there for a long-term patient. Voiceability came in, they set up in a room. Most of the people within the ward were in bed, so couldn't get out of bed. And they sat there, but they were able to tick a box to say, we spent an hour at a hospital, but nobody came to see us because nobody actually was able to go and see them because most of them were bedbound. So I suppose what I'm looking for is not just we visited a hospital, we visited a library, we sat for an hour. It's actually how many people did you see in that hour and then that journey. Yes. So that's the type of thing I think you've answered that you will come up with.
Yes, and we are, for those of you who've worked with me before, I'm not interested in box ticking because that is not treating people with dignity and respect if we're just ticking a box to say we've done it. So we need to understand where the people who need our support are. And if that means sitting next to somebody who's in a bed in a hospital, then that's what we should do, because that's the practical thing. We might run some drop-in things for areas where maybe people with brain injuries are together, because it lets them know the service is there. But not everybody with a brain injury is going to need support to claim to get their rights on a Social Security Scotland payment. But no, I'm not one for sitting in a room and nobody comes.
Thank you, and we wish you well come end of January. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you, Mr Balfour. Just on reflection there, Mr Bartlett, I think parliamentarians are very much taking a similar pathway to yourself. There's no point in having the advice surgery in the same library at 2 p.m. every Friday, once a month if no one comes along. Much better bespoke and been accessible as and when you're needed. So if that's the model you're seeking to develop, I think that's very welcome. Can I ask, do any members of any additional questions? Okay. That being the case, Mr Bartlett, given the fact that we didn't permit you to have an opening statement, and I'm very mindful that you only get to put on the record in relation to the questions that you're actually asked. We've got a couple of minutes left. You don't have to use those couple of minutes. Are there any kind of final words or comments that you would like to make? Other than, before I do let you in, I should point out that you did say that we would enjoy your reports. So that's quite a high bar you've set already, Mr Bartlett. So I hope that bit goes well. But in seriousness, is there anything you want to put on the record before we close this part of the meeting?
I'm a very big believer in communication. So please, if you hear things, good or bad, please share them. Please share them with us. We are absolutely committed to making a success of this. We've got a very, very good team here. We've brought on a couple of new people with advocacy experience, and our aim is to hit the ground running on the 31st of January, get those gaps plugged across the country. Maybe next time I speak to the committee, I could bring a map of the coverage that we have. You know, just so we can share what it was and what it is. You know, we're very happy to share information on that front. As I said, you know, please, any questions you get, any concerns, please just reach out, and we'll come straight back with not always the answer, but sometimes it's with we'll sort that out, or you know, that's really interesting. You know, that's a really interesting observation. But please, it's communication for us.
Bartlett, thank you very much. And just put on record again, I think the committee welcomes your proactive approach to engagement thus far. So thank you for your evidence today. And that does conclude our private business this morning. And we'll now move into private session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.